No one could agree on when the alien ship arrived. Some claimed it slipped into the solar system so smoothly that it barely disturbed a photon. Others believed it had always been there, hidden behind equations humanity had not yet learned to solve. Astronomers argued. Politicians postured. The public watched grainy images of a vast, quiet shape hovering beyond the moon and felt the same shared unease. Something ancient was waiting, and it was not impressed. The first contact protocols had been rehearsed for generations. Entire careers were built on preparing for this moment. Linguists trained artificial intelligences on every known human language, every mathematical constant, every symbolic system ever carved into stone or etched onto silicon. When the signal finally came, the world held its breath. Then everything went wrong. The transmission did not follow patterns. It was not a sequence. It was not even linear. It arrived as layered sound, overlapping tones that bent in on themselves, vibrating through equipment in ways engineers could not explain. Some frequencies were audible. Others rattled bones. Others bypassed the ear entirely and pressed directly against the mind. People listening through headsets collapsed in nausea or panic. Translators froze mid-process and crashed. Supercomputers flagged paradox loops and shut themselves down to avoid corruption. Whatever the message was, it refused to be reduced. When humanity responded, it did so the only way it knew how. With confidence. Mathematical greetings were broadcast first. Prime numbers, hydrogen spectra, declarations of peaceful intent rendered in pure logic. Silence followed. Then another wave of sound from the alien vessel, deeper this time, slower, heavy with something that felt uncomfortably like disappointment. A second attempt used visual language. Light pulses. Symbolic animations. A simplified history of Earth compressed into data bursts. This time, the response was immediate. Alarms screamed. Sends. They did not explain much on the way up. Two uniformed officers sat across from Lyra in the transport, eyes forward, faces blank. The city fell away beneath them, lights blurring into a loose net of gold before clouds swallowed everything. Lyra kept her hands folded in her lap to hide the shaking. At the facility, she was led through corridors that smelled faintly of metal and disinfectant. No windows. No clocks. Just doors that opened before she reached them. Finally, a room with a single table, a screen built into the wall, and 6 people who studied her like a strange equation. One of them spoke first. Calm. Controlled. You sent an email claiming you can interpret the alien transmission. I said I could hear it, Lyra replied. That's not the same thing. A few exchanged glances. They asked about her education. Minimal. Work history. Unimpressive. Linguistic training. Informal. When she mentioned her grandmother's language, one of them frowned. That dialect is functionally extinct, he said. Then it has good company, Lyra answered before she could stop herself. Silence followed. Not hostile. Evaluative. Without warning, the screen lit up. The full transmission filled the room. It was stronger than the leak. Clearer. The sound pressed against her skin like weather. Someone behind her gasped. Another person swore under their breath. Lyra leaned forward, elbows on the table, eyes unfocused. She listened. Not for meaning. For shape. After several seconds, she raised a hand. Stop. The sound cut off. The room seemed to exhale. What did you hear? A woman asked. Lyra swallowed. A greeting. A failed one. Then an attempt to adjust. Then frustration. Not anger. More like, realizing you're speaking to a child using an adult voice. That's interpretation, the woman said carefully. No, Lyra said. That's tone. They played a shorter segment. Lyra closed her eyes this time. When she spoke, she did not translate. She responded. Her voice moved instinctively, rising. Understanding came slowly, and it came at a cost. Each session with the alien left Lyra drained in ways sleep could not fix. Her head throbbed, her throat stayed raw for hours, and sometimes she forgot simple words in her own language, like her mind had borrowed too much from somewhere else and had not finished giving it back. Doctors monitored her constantly, whispering concerns she pretended not to hear. The alien noticed everything. It adjusted its presence when she grew unsteady. Softened tones. Lengthened pauses. It learned her limits faster than the people running the program did. Communication evolved into something closer to conversation. The alien spoke, Lyra listened, then shaped a response that carried emotion first and meaning second. Only afterward did teams of experts argue over how to translate what she said into reports and briefings that made sense to governments. Most of the time, they failed. The alien did not think in objects or actions. It thought in relationships. In how one state flowed into another. A star was not a thing but a promise. Death was not an end but a breaking of rhythm. Violence was not an act, but a collapse in listening. When Lyra tried to explain this, she was met with polite nods and impatient questions. So are they offering technology or not? Someone finally asked during one briefing. Lyra hesitated. That's not how they frame value. That wasn't the question. She felt something tighten in her chest. Before she could answer, the alien shifted, its surface darkening into a shade she had come to recognize as displeasure. It spoke. The sound filled the chamber, slower and denser than before. Lyra listened, heart pounding. When she translated, her voice was steady but cold. They're asking why you keep interrupting your own understanding, she said. Why you rush to extract instead of receive. A general scoffed. Tell it that urgency is how survival works. Lyra looked at the alien. Then back at the room. She made a choice. The final session did not feel final at first. It began like the others, with careful calibration and quiet tension. Lyra sat opposite the alien, her body tired but her mind strangely clear. Weeks of listening had reshaped her sense of time. Silence no longer felt empty. It felt full, waiting to be respected. The alien opened with a pattern she had come to recognize as reflection rather than inquiry. It was not asking questions. It was laying out a path. Lyra listened as it spoke of thresholds. Of civilizations that burned bright and fast, mistaking intensity for meaning. Of others that learned to dim themselves, not in weakness, but in consideration for what surrounded them. Survival, to the alien, was not dominance. It was harmony sustained over unimaginable spans of time. Then it asked the only question that mattered. Not in words. In weight. Could humans learn to hear what was not shouted? Lyra felt the room behind her, the observers holding their breath, waiting for a clean answer they could record and archive. She thought of her grandmother again, of a language carried only in voices because writing it down would have killed its rhythm. She thought of how much humanity had already lost by insisting everything be loud, fast, and measurable. Yes, she said slowly, shaping the response with care. But not all at once. We stumble. We argue. We misunderstand each other constantly. Sometimes we listen only after damage is done. But we do learn. And we keep trying. The alien went still. Time stretched. Instruments whispered data no one fully understood. Lyra's heart pounded. She wondered if honesty had been the wrong choice. If uncertainty sounded like weakness to a being this old. Then color spread across the alien's form, deep and steady. A spectrum she had learned meant acceptance. The decision rippled outward quietly. There was no grand announcement, no dramatic address to the world. Just a statement released in careful language. Contact would continue. Dialogo.